Oh boy, let's see here. Trying to get my software going right. It keeps giving me problems. I have to reset it. So if anything happens here, I'll just redo it. See what we got going on. All right. I'm using Meet. If anybody wants to join during this, I'm trying this out this time. So we went over the magnetic field last time and how it's like an electromagnet. You got these vectors and how magnetic pressure is what's making the compasses point to the South Pole. This will be Antarctica and this will be the North Pole. And the vectors, so I was going to go more into how the Earth is the troposphere is like a tank circuit. Excuse me. The troposphere, it goes up to 12 miles. It's between the Earth's surface and the stratosphere, which is where daylight's at. So it's the first layer. It's what we live in, basically, the troposphere. I have to bring up some of these as well. Hope this goes smoothly. We'll see. Okay. Pressure visualization. Sea level 12, 1.5. Well, here we go. 3 miles, 6 miles, 9, 12. The troposphere, and then you the stratosphere. Wow, there ain't much atmosphere left up there. There's no point even setting beyond that. Nobody can get there. So this tank circuit. Let's go grab this. Let's see. There's a definition of tank circuit, but I wanted you to visualize. When we're doing a Tesla coil, this is the old school spark gap Tesla coil. The new ones have transistors that does all the on and off. Right now what's doing the on and off is the spark gap. This thing is turning this magnetic field on and off in the megahertz range and radio frequencies. It's very fast. Tens of thousands of times a second. This thing is moving. I mean, it's pretty much, for all intents and purposes, practically instant. It shows you a visualization of this thing growing, the field. Let's see here. Skip up and see if it'll show it.
At the frequency of the resonant circuit, and therefore it will generate an electromagnetic field oscillating at the...
There we go. It's just showing it going in and out really slow, but it's, like I said, in the radio frequency. So many megahertz. Like, very, very, very fast. And let me just get back. So this tank circuit is these components right here. A capacitor, a resistor. This is the resistance, is air. The dielectric breakdown of air is the resistor. And then the inductor is this thing right here. It's an electromagnet. Makes a magnetic field. So the capacitor, the resistor, and the inductor. So An RLC circuit. It's an electrical circuit consisting of a resistor, an inductor, and a capacitor. Okay, that's pretty simple. The basics on this Tesla coil. So, alright, I don't know if we need to go through this or how much information you need, but a resistor, it reduces the flow of electrical current in a circuit by introducing a specific amount of electrical resistance. So let's pull this up. Like things that has resistance. So air down here is 3 millivolts or megavolts a meter. 3 megavolts a meter. Or you could say 30 kilovolts a centimeter. So it takes so much electricity to make a spark gap to get through the air. Like distilled water, which is what the clouds are, is 20 times higher than that. So, like salt water is a conductor, yeah, electricity will go through salt water. The dielectric breakdown, the dielectric is going to be much less than distilled water. Distilled water acts as a really strong dielectric, like it resists the flow of electricity through it. But everything has a dielectric breakdown at some point. If you apply enough voltage, everything has an electrical dielectric breakdown. But distilled water, yes, it can, if you put 70 megavolt through the water with 1 meter, it'll act as a it'll turn into a conductor. So yeah, the resistance. All right. Now we're talking about lightning and things, the air and the clouds. The clouds are going to act like a supercapacitor, and the air is going to act as a spark gap. Because air, the dielectric breakdown strength is 3, and distilled water is 20 times higher. So that's a resistor. The other way, capacitor. Capacitor, what does it say? It stores electrical energy. Basically, it's like a battery. And the way they're put together is 2 closely spaced conductors, typically metal plates, and they're separated by a dielectric, usually air. There's other materials that use as the dielectric, but air is what's typically used. So in the case of the realm, I haven't checked chat. Oh, what the heck? I got people in my chat, y'all, and I haven't been paying attention. Let's see. So I don't lose my place. I'm talking about capacitors. Alright, no problem. So it accumulates charges on 2 closely spaced plates, conductors, separated by a dielectric material. So if we have a conductor being the stratosphere, the ether, and you have another conductor being the earth, and you have the dielectric in between. Now you got a capacitor. So like thunderstorms, you know, those clouds become a super capacitor. Let's see. No, look at this chat. Let's see. What's up, Heart of the Earth and Wisecracker? Good to see you. No, Wisecracker's gone. Heron. Hey, Heron. I just found out I was 4 minutes back. I'm live now. I don't know if he's talking about my runtime. I was having problems starting up if he's talking about me getting started. There's 2 peeps. You want me to hit the like? I don't. If you want to, Wisecracker, I don't care. It'll be in your like videos, not mine. I don't do it for popularity or anything. I'm just documenting some of these things and trying to get all these puzzle pieces, like, instead of just going right to the very top and confusing it. I'm trying to take it slow and do it one little piece at a time. But I might cover something in more depth later. I don't know. Okay, well, see ya. There's some water, so capacitor, and RLC, so it's pretty simple. Resistor, inductor, capacitor. Like lightning is a whole another thing. Like I need to cover that in a whole another stream. Ooh, oh well. Capacitor, yeah. A conductive plate, another conductive plate, and a dielectric separating it in between. So if this is the Earth and this is the stratosphere, the dielectric in between, that's the air, the clouds, whatever, dielectric stuff that is resisting the flow of electricity. That's what everything has in common on Earth's surface, is resistance. So the inductor is simply an electromagnet. It stores potential in a magnetic field. It makes a magnetic field, like in this Tesla coil. It's an inductor. Just a coil of wire. It stores energy in a magnetic field. So that's pretty simple. I suppose RLC. So that's the Tesla coil here. So once you understand the RLC, you'll understand how a Tesla coil is going to work. This capacitor is going to be filled up. Then the spark gap's going to happen, and it's going to drain the capacitor. Right? So when that spark happens, this field in here makes a field, and it's also following what these two are doing. The spark gaps allowing this to grow every time it sparks. Pop, pop, pop. However many megahertz. The new ones are transistors, like solid state Tesla coils. Transistors do the same thing. They're turning it on and off. They're making, they're turning it on and off and making the field grow and shrink. So that's pretty simple. And then you apply that to our atmosphere. this is going on. So let's listen to this for a minute.
Extra component which serves as a switch, which basically consists of two pieces of metal that are extremely close, but not touching. The function of this section of the Tesla coil is that the primary coil emits an electromagnetic field with the frequency of the resonant circuit. When the transformer induces a current, charges begin to accumulate in the capacitor without having any
Oh, that's a boring robot voice coming from this guy.
the electrons try to find another path. And the second best option is where the metal pieces are, jumping through them with a spark.
So this is like a battery, and you instantly drain the battery when the dielectric breakdown of air. You know, you could space these further apart, these two balls here, and you could change the timing on it. It would take more build up and whatever. You could set them up in different ways, right? Like it would take more electricity to get through a wider gap. So I'm trying to say.
This way, the spark will allow the passage of the charges that were accumulating in the capacitor, quickly discharging it. But as soon as they do, the spark will also disappear, because the capacitor will be again the best path for the current, repeating the cycle again. Will not be at the same frequency that the
this cycle, he got this wrong. It's whatever the heck he's saying. This cycle happens many times per oscillation. No, it's doing this many tens of thousands times a second.
coil. Again, it will be passing an extremely high voltage, which will be oscillating at the frequency of the resonant circuit, and therefore it will generate an electromagnetic field oscillating at this same frequency, which we can take it.
Just this in itself, well, I want to move up to where he puts a secondary coil on, because this is where I'm calling like the troposphere, and then the secondary coil being the stratosphere. So let's see.
Take advantage of with the secondary coil. Again, we will have two coils nearby, and with a big difference between the number of turns of each, which means that we will have a second. Last detail of the operation of a Tesla coil is in the form of the primary coil, which is designed with the aim of reducing the magnetic coupling between both coils.
This secondary coil is not attached to this whatsoever. There's one lead going to the ground, and then the other is through the air. So it's going through the air to the ground to make a circuit in the secondary coil. It's just resonating off of this one. This primary coil is making this field, and the secondary one is doing the same thing. It's making the field, but it'll show you it's amplified. This is amplified. There's more turns of this copper wire, but whenever you're thinking about the error, think of it as ether. This, instead of using wires as a conductor, it'd just be the ether. The ether is the wires. So when you get into the stratosphere, the pressure is so low. When I was showing, it's from whatever, it's 51,000th of an atmosphere at the tropopause to 1/1000th of an atmosphere at the top of the stratosphere. Isn't it pulled open? Maybe I closed it. Anyways, so whenever you get to the stratosphere, it's a conductor. It's a pure conductor, and it's resonating off of all of this going on. Oh, I guess I didn't want to pull up. Huh, it's already got it pulled up. Yeah. So 12 miles right here. This is the stratosphere. Again, this is where all the resistance at on Earth. Right? Like right between here and here, pretty much between the Earth's surface and the 1 mile in the sky where the bottom of the clouds are at. That's where everything in existence is. Like everything. It's everything. And it's so thin. And it's just that tiny little 1 mile region that everything exists in. But
In practical terms, this means that when a voltage oscillation goes through the primary coil, The secondary coil will generate a higher voltage for the difference in the number of laps between both coils. But it will also continue to oscillate, even if the primary coil stopped working.
The reason why you have more voltage is because it's Faraday's law of induction. You can have a moving magnetic field through a coil wire, makes a voltage, or a conductor moving over a stationary magnet. It'll do the same thing. We should probably pull that up for... Induction. Oh, where's the... YouTube. Bam. Bam.
Faraday's law explains how changing magnetic fields create electric currents. It states that the induced
How can I move this?
EMF in a
I want to mute it, but it won't let me do that. Want to move it? That's weird. Oh, here. Yeah, you can have a moving magnetic field through this wire, this conductor, or the other way around. The conductor move over a stationary. But the conductor, I'm trying to say, think of that as ether as the wire, right? So you're moving this conductor, turn this light on. Alright, that's easy. Or you keep the magnet still and move the conductor, same thing. Back to this Tesla coil.
Working.
Once you see the simplicity of a Tesla coil, it like, it'll be hard to forget. It's so basic.
Do you remember the pendulum example? It's exactly the same. We could say that the secondary coil is the pendulum and the primary coil is the force that pushes at the exact moment.
It's just a visualization of this field. It ain't growing and collapsing this slow. Like I said, it's very fast. And it's just resonating. So what this bottom coil is doing, this top one is amplifying and resonating off of it and making it bigger.
In this way, it is possible to generate a much higher voltage than the one that had been started, and which is also oscillating at the resonant frequency. Now that we fully understand how a Tesla coil works, let's get back to its goal, transmitting power wirelessly. The electrical discharges in the air are striking, but in reality do not fulfill any function. We could even...
He's saying that it's just for show, which you can turn these down, which he's explaining. You can turn them down to where they don't do that, and they do just what you want them to do, whatever, you know what I mean? You could, where you have them throwing sparks out everywhere, but it's mostly for show. It doesn't...
even say that they are undesirable, so we will keep our Tesla coil at a lower voltage to avoid these losses, and to only generate the electromagnetic field. If we position a fluorescent lamp near the coil, it will turn on, because to the electromagnetic field will give it enough...
Okay, and this is what I want to say. How is this doing this? Because this fluorescent bulb, it's a vacuum tube, so there's no resistance in there. So when you have a growing field, when we had that Faraday law, you need to move a magnetic field through a conductor, right? And that conductor is ether. It's how you're creating a voltage through here. And then there's less resistance in these bulbs. So it's lighting up because it's ether. It's a moving magnetic field through a conductor. And that conductor is ether. That's how you get wireless voltage, whatever. Okay.
enough energy so that the gas inside start emitting ultraviolet light, which is later transformed by a phosphor layer in visible light. In a similar...
Okay, he's going to get into phosphor and how it ionizes and all that, but neon lights doesn't do any of that. They just put a tiny amount of gas for bias to make the color differences. But you don't need the mercury and the phosphorus and yeah. only works with gas-filled bulbs. Yeah, neon fluorescence. That's daylight, man. That's how daylight is coming about. Is through this process. It's tank circuit, right? Ether is an all-pervasive medium that fills the entire room, and if everything's in this 1 mile area, like between here and here, it displaces the ether, and the ether ends up in the stratosphere where, excuse me, it's a pure conductor. Right. And it isn't very thick. Our atmosphere is only 32 miles thick. It's pretty ridiculous, right? And it's 16,000 miles wide. So I might have to elaborate on the way I'm explaining this, but have you seen some my earlier videos? My first one or two I already covered it, but I'm just trying to elaborate more and explain. So now maybe somebody understands how a Tesla coil works. It's only 3 parts. It's the RLC tank circuit down there. A resistor, a capacitor, and an inductor.
ChatGPT is great.
Yeah, what's powering it is the transformer here. It's giving it whatever power, anything. So that's the power source. Some high voltage power source, because it'll be 120 volts coming from the line in the house, and then you'll bump it up thousands of volts. Really, it's more about current here. Current is the magnetic field. Amperage, current, and magnetic field, they're all the same meaning. Amps is magnetic. Amps is magnetic, and voltage is the electrical, because everything's electromagnetic. Like the real power in a battery is not the voltage, it's the amperage, the amp hours. Because you can harness the magnetic field off of these as much as you can the other way around, the voltage. You know what I'm saying? If it's got magnetic potential, then you can harness that and make the electricity work however you want to induce it. So, like a car battery, it's amperage. The dude who made the battery or whatever, Volta, it's named after the volt is named after Volta, but he invented the battery which harnesses the power of the magnetic amperage. Very weird. I mean, the car battery is only 12 volts. That ain't where the power's at. That ain't what makes the battery, useful. It's the amps. How many amps it has in it. And it has a ton of amps. Right? Like, the 12 volts, that's puny. That's nothing. But the guy Volta we named the voltage for, yeah, that's confusing. It's just like everything they do. It's called a hydraulic analogy with electricity, and it was first made up because you cannot show electricity like you can magnetism. Magnetism, you use ferrofluids, you could use iron shavings, but electricity, they can't, so they use everything as hydraulic analogy. And basically, it was first, like when Volta was talking about stuff, he would describe it like that, like the flow, the current, the pressure, um, like all of it is so you got to mentally think like, first of all, you got to reverse engineer from hydraulic analogy, and and then like something like, oh, amperage, that's the magnetic field. Once you get a deep understanding about what's going on, then you can get away from, well, that's current, or that's, the pressure. Yeah. Well, I can get deeper in that, but yeah, amps. Yeah, so your primary coil, you want a big magnetic field. You want that thing, and then your secondary coil is going to amplify that, and then you're going to get voltage and you're moving it through the ether, because the ether is a conductor. Also, anybody here, I'd already know if they were going to try to join that. Let's see, Mike. Yeah, this is a crazy system, y'all. It's huge. There's a lot of stuff going on. But ether is what makes it all happen. And ether shows that it's an enclosed, contained system. That's why the science side, they will not ever say ether, because that's what it's gonna do. Is it'll flip everything on its head. Everything that they have scientifically, it'll flip it on its head. They won't ever incorporate that. They got to say free space or black matter or whatever. They will never say ether, because then you turn it to a conductor, then you got all sorts of stuff going on that they're not, they got a totally different story. Nothing new under the sun, man. Heck no. Not at all. That's hilarious. But I don't know. It's all beautiful to me. The daylight's beautiful. There's beauty everywhere. I guess. Yeah, I think next time maybe I'll cover lightning. I just want to document it, save it, so I try to give a quick rundown. Maybe I'll elaborate and get more refined and do it better in the future. But yeah, that's pretty much the tank circuit. And then when I get into lightning, I'll explain more about how lightning is a thermoelectric supercapacitor spark gap discharge, and it's a emotional electromagnetic field. Like thermoelectricity part of it is like they don't account for it in science, which is ridiculous. I was going to bring up and show a little comparison about what science says lightning is and what I'm trying to show what's going on, because you'll never see a lightning storm in the winter. There's a reason for that. It's the thermoelectric effect, because it's negative 60 in the atmosphere, and then it's 60 degrees on the ground. So at the stratosphere, right here where it starts, negative 60 degrees up there in the sky. It gets that's cold. And then on the ground, averages 60 degrees. So you have where it's hot in the tropics, that's where all the lightning is happening. It's because it's hot on the ground and cold in the sky. You'll never see lightning in the winter. You can have cold and cold. It won't make lightning. So I'll go over that next time. We'll see if I could do a better job presenting. This thing's been giving me fits. Had it started a couple times today. But alright, man. Yep. I'm gonna try playing out the video. We'll see if it works or not. Oh. Close this. See you guys. Oh, what'd you say? What's up? This is where our last ice storm came from. Oh, they're very rare. It happens. Sometimes you'll get like the hurricanes. It'll mix the real warm winds or whatever, and it's a rare occasion. But yeah, I'll cover it. I'll put that in as part of what I'll cover. Yeah, see you, man.
Motherfucker.